The question now is that the amendment be agreed to, and I give the call to the member for Lindsay.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise tonight in support of these appropriation bills, and in doing so would like to share with the House some of the very positive economic activity taking place in the outer suburbs of Western Sydney. Deputy Speaker, so much work has been done in regard to the Innovation Corridor, a corridor of smart jobs that will not only create new but emerging industries, but one that will also create the jobs of tomorrow and the smart jobs of tomorrow. As it stands today, Deputy Speaker, Western Sydney suffers with job deficits of anywhere between 180 and 220,000 jobs. The Penrith Business Alliance further estimates that 2/3 of the region are forced to commute every single day to work. That is about 65,000 people, most of these people making the trip by car along the M4 to their place of employment. This daily commute, this exodus from the region, can take anywhere between 2 to 4 hours a day. Let's just think of the damage this does to our local economy as this leakage of people leaving our town every single day, the disruption to all of those families, not to mention the immense effect that it has on our nation's productivity. Deputy Speaker, I'm proud to be part of a government that has a vision for Western Sydney, a vision for our nation, and a government getting on with the job in delivering that vision. In January, I was very honoured to host the Treasurer, and at first I took him to a suburb called Jordan Springs, one of 7 new housing developments going up within my electorate at this point in time. This development was awarded the prestigious 2014 Best Master Plan Development in New South Wales by the Urban Development Institute of Australia. It is developments like Jordan Springs that has driven New South Wales' economic growth from last in our country to the state performing best in our country. Later, I took the Treasurer to meet local businesses, innovators, and discussed with him, as each of these business leaders discussed with the Treasurer, the opportunity that they saw for Western Sydney. One particular opportunity was that of the Sydney Science Park, a 287-hectare mixed-use development in Luddenham, where, and I quote, its vision statement clearly says, "Sydney Science Park will be a new centre of excellence in the key growth areas of food security, energy and health. This internationally recognised epicentre for research and development will employ 12,200 professionals, educate 10,000 students and provide quality residences and infrastructure to cater for them. Spread across 287 hectares in the growing Western Sydney region, Sydney Science Park will be home to the Biata Laboratories, the research and development arm of Australia's largest privately owned food groups. By bringing together the industry's best and brightest, this multi-billion-dollar precinct will help drive growth, productivity and competitiveness across the food and agribusiness sector." Deputy Speaker, this development will bring together, as I just stated, thousands of jobs. It will bring together scientific minds and also the studies of all of our agricultural industries. Over and above the value of the land, Biata are pledging to invest in the vicinity of $2.5 billion into our region. This private investment further complements the $3.6 billion investment the federal government, together with the New South Wales State Baird government, is investing into the roads of the 21st century. These roads will improve our vital arteries that will connect our regions. Within my electorate of Lindsay, that includes widening of the Northern Road, widening of Elizabeth Drive, and in the electorate of Macarthur, improvements to Bringelly Road. Deputy Speaker, this is very exciting news for the people of Western Sydney, and I'm proud to be part of a government that is delivering for the people I represent. Deputy and Speaker, I was further honoured in February to then host the Foreign Minister. We oversaw the development of the beginning of the Sydney IQ Medical Research Park in Werrington, a location whereby already $28 million has been made available by both the federal government and the University of Western Sydney. This soon-to-be Sydney IQ Business Park will be home to 450 jobs. And thanks to the work of the Assistant Minister of Infrastructure and Regional Development, the member for Mayo, the Coalition has further provided a consignment loan of $70 million to the New South Wales State Government to provide the vital link to Sydney IQ in the form of Werrington Arterial. The Werrington Arterial will then link this business park, which will ultimately provide 6,000 jobs in the space of medical research and medical technology. How can you not be excited by this? I've already stated 12,000 jobs, now another 6,000 jobs, directly out of the policies of this government. Deputy Speaker, the Foreign Affairs Minister in opposition worked so hard on the free trade agreements, which were ultimately delivered by the current Minister for Trade and Investment. These free trade agreements have had a massive impact to see the first fruits of these labours grow and come to life within the electorate. Later in the month, I'll be really honoured to have the Parliamentary Secretary for Foreign Affairs, who's in the chamber tonight, come and visit the electorate of Lindsay, as he will meet a delegation of Chinese businessmen who are coming to Lindsay to see how they can further be part of this emerging services industry to really then provide these services back to China. This is exciting news for Western Sydney. This is exciting news for Australians. And to see so many members of our executive getting on board and working hard to deliver smart jobs for tomorrow. Deputy Speaker, under the Free Trade Agreement, the University of Western Sydney has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the Beijing University of Medical Research, whereby the University of Western Sydney will be working to accredit and do all the research trials on Chinese medicines. This is globally only a $170 billion industry. This is where Western Sydney can really carve a niche for itself. The initial injection of $20 million from the Beijing University of Chinese Medicine will establish a world-leading centre in traditional medicines and will provide the catalyst to get the accreditation facility up and running. Deputy Speaker, Penrith Council reports a staggering average of $100 million in development proposals coming across their desks every month, as people see the potential in investing in this thriving region. At the other end of it, though, Deputy Speaker, we also have to look at the commitments from this government to ensure that we have made this all possible. Deputy Speaker, it was only a few weeks ago that I was then honoured to hold the Prime Minister within the electorate of Lindsay. We went out to Castlereagh, where we met with hundreds of local people who were wanting to meet and shake the hand of the Australian Prime Minister. As we looked over from Castlereagh across the Penrith Lake scheme, a 2,000-hectare site that was once the Castlereagh quarries that provided in the vicinity of 70 to 80% of all the sand to the Sydney developments over the last 50 years. This site of land reeks of opportunity. Within the next 6 to 18 months, this land will be handed back to the New South Wales State Government, and together between the Department of Planning and the State Department of Sport and Penrith Council, we are now developing a plan that will develop this crucial region. Deputy Speaker, I think I have clearly demonstrated how this government is focused on the people of Western Sydney, clearly focused on delivering growth, jobs and opportunity for all Australians. But the work does not stop there. Let's discuss WestConnex, Australia's largest urban road project, one that will see congestion eased to allow travellers travelling along the east from Penrith into the city will bypass 52 sets of traffic lights and ultimately provide an additional 10,000 jobs to the people of inner Western Sydney. But of course it doesn't stop with WestConnex. What about NorthConnex? How many people in the region dread Pennant Hills Road? The pain of Pennant Hills Road, particularly as people travel for their summer holidays up into the Central Coast. NorthConnex will allow a bypass of Pennant Hills Road, and the member for Parramatta who's here tonight, I'm sure would also like to see a bypass of Pennant Hills Road, which would also very much benefit the community in Parramatta. These are projects of vision, projects that will get the outer Western Sydney suburbs moving. The Coalition Government, working together, both state and federal, no longer will the people of Western Sydney be taken for granted, and no longer will they be left behind. And in my opinion, Deputy Speaker, I believe we have the opportunity to lead the world. Deputy Speaker, with all this development, I am also acutely aware of the spectacular and beautiful bushland that we in Western Sydney are custodians of, in particular the Cumberland Plain woodland, a critically endangered habitat. With so much development, we must carefully manage the competing priorities to care for this bushland. I would further like to applaud the efforts and the work of the Minister for Environment for his long and consistent support, but more to the point, his belief in protecting our native bushland. I would also like to applaud the work of so many of our local conservationists, including Wayne Olling, Lisa Harold, Jeff Brown, Indigenous groups like Maru Midiga, Kevin Kavanagh and the Durban Land Council, all working together to protect our bushland and preserve our Indigenous heritage. Deputy Speaker, working with all these local environmental stakeholders, the Minister for Environment is delivering 10 Green Army projects over the next 4 years, and together with land acquisitions, these projects are designed to build the connectivity of the Cumberland Conservation Corridor, a strategic arc of a natural corridor that will link the flora and fauna together so that we can preserve what was so special and unique about our region. This is a vitally important project. Some of the areas earmarked still have platypus populations, while a number of creek lines are recognised as extremely rare examples of pristine environments that directly link back to pre-colonisations and into our Indigenous heritage. There is still so much work to be done in this space, and I do call on the state government to ensure that all biodiversity credits created from all the development right across Western Sydney stay in Western Sydney. And in my own opinion, I would love to see them invested into the Cumberland Conservation Corridor. Deputy Speaker, I am very pleased to confirm that there will be 10 Green Army projects in Lindsay, another excellent government initiative for which the Minister for Environment and Heritage must be congratulated. There are only 350 awarded around the country, so receiving 10 within Lindsay is an amazing achievement. Pretty much all of them will be focused on restoring, where possible, the integrity of the remnant of the Cumberland Plains bushland. Some of the work will be carried out in conjunction with other groups in the area, like the Indigenous enterprise group Maru Midiga, a well-respected cultural Indigenous centre for the local region. They will run nurseries, the propagation of the plants, as well as the seedlings, and will roll the projects out. But here's the best news. Maru Midiga say that at the end of the project, they are aiming for a 90% employment rate for all the participants of their Green Army projects. Western Sydney does have one of the largest Aboriginal populations in the country, and as we have spoken with the Close the Gap report that came down just a few weeks ago, providing Aboriginal employment is absolutely crucial. So we're working with Green Army to have this sort of project that will actually deliver 90% employment rate at the end of their projects is a noble cause for Maru Midiga, and I applaud Peter Chai and the team at Maru for what they are doing. Deputy Speaker, we are not only investing in keeping the green lungs of Western Sydney healthy, this is also a program of investing in jobs. And Maru Midiga have the runs on the board to secure such a remarkable outcome. Since they began, Maru Midiga has placed over 1,000 local Indigenous Australians into ongoing work and full-time work. That is an impressive record by anyone's standard. My interest in doing my bit for the environment is to make the plan outlined by Penrith and the Business Alliance is to then create a further 40,000 jobs in Lindsay over the coming 2 decades. Deputy Speaker, on my coffee table in my electorate office, I have a brochure, circa 1960-1970. It's a detailed vision for what our forefathers thought was possible for our region. 30, 40 years later, the vision pretty much stayed idle. But today, with this coalition government, we are seeing a vision and a life come to fruition, and I would like to congratulate and thank my community and this government for delivering for the people of Western Sydney. Thank you.
I thank the member. Her time has expired. The question now is that the amendment be agreed to.